Now, each block, you mentioned the 100, the 95, 95, 95 scenario, so that's just 4 blocks.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's no extension onto the day?
Same
Is that
amount of
correct?
time.
Same amount of time, and there's no remediation time built into those?
Not the regular
currently.
schedule, no.
Not currently,
Not
will there
currently.
be?
We've looked at different ways that we could do things creatively, whether we have after-school tutoring to offer kids things. We're working on it in the department chair meeting.
Okay.
And I
To figure
mentioned
out.
a split block, like if you had a...
Yeah, special day once in a while to do things. There's a lot of different alternatives if we had to have a special day to fix things with clubs or remediation with that. But a lot of it's built into your day with remedial activities, because say if we offer a Part 1 Algebra 1 or Math 8, they have 90 minutes all year with that course. So
There's no
hopefully
need for the
there
remediation
wouldn't be as
because
much.
they're in the class.
Correct.
And that's what I wanted to make
Yes,
sure
there's
that
a
they're
whole-
in the classroom, they're not being pulled out of that classroom of that 95-minute or 100-minute time frame.
And we had also discussed possibly if a student were in an elective class or PE, some type of course,
Right.
and needed that extra help in math or science. If the teacher has a full block for a plan, then he or she could give up 20 minutes one day a week to pull that student out, so you do not have a remediation period for the whole school.
But that's what I
Because we
was
don't
gonna
want to
ask,
pull
because
for
that's-
minutes out of those blocks. We want
That's
to keep the
correct.
blocks consistent.
And I think on that same note too, I'm looking at one of the opposite things is absenteeism there. That extra time that you're addressing some, because a kid can miss 2 days of school when he's a week behind. And that's a tough catch. A day is okay to catch up. 2 days is tough. But if you miss 2 days, you're a week behind. So hopefully that work time, plan time could help some of those kids catch up at that point.
We implemented a new attendance plan this year, which is good. We got to do a little tweaking with that. But the other part that we're working on with Nearpod is Mr. Greer does a great job with this. As she does a daily lesson, that she gives a code, and the student that misses school, they go online and use the code, they come back, they already have their instructional material, their presentation. We're trying to find creative ways. If you miss school, how do we get you back in? And
Yeah,
you
the
should
first
be
couple of
following.
years is going to be tough, and that's one thing I can really see. The kid that can miss just a couple of days can get really, really tough.
And the other good part, I know we talked about time, say it's 2 hour delay tomorrow. You still get an hour of instruction in
That's
that
right.
class instead of the, let's
20
go
minutes.
25, 30 minute type of day.
Correct.
So that is one you would be able to actually have a good lesson on a 2 hour delay.
Right.
Well, on a block schedule, with the 8th grade at the high school, that's one advantage, because most 8th graders are going to get, 2 to 3 high school credits. And remember, with the diplomas, the standard diploma is 22 and advanced is 26. Well, starting in the 9th grade, you have 8 credits a year, that's 32 credits, plus 2 in the 8th grade. I mean, you really got 34 credits.
So they've...
Credit recovery is built
So,
in.
you could take that algebra all year and not have as many to, so you have a little bit more.
And that's kind of one of the big parts is the upper level elective courses, but also being able to help our struggling areas with math and English with the Part 1, Part 2. So if we're having, building the base with math and Algebra 1 with the new profile of Virginia graduate, once they pass, if they're not taking algebra in the 8th grade, taking it in 9th grade, that's going to be their last math they'll have to take an SOL in. So if they're taking that for that 90 minutes and a possible struggle, we have them 90 minutes all year, where we're possibly getting an instructional assistant in there, a special education teacher in there. We have all hands on deck, and we're putting as many resources in one
See,
spot
that
as we can.
was a real concern when we talked about block before, whether we had enough in class sizes to do that. We'll be all, just in Algebra 1, we're going to be offering that a complete year, so that if the first semester they don't, the second one they can. Is that...
The math 8 and the Algebra 1, we'd have some requirements for that. It wouldn't be for everybody. It would be if you failed an SOL, you had below a D, you had a D or below,
Right.
or a teacher recommendation. That's what our department chair leaders developed with that.
Think about when we taught like Algebra 1, Part 1, Algebra 1, Part 2 before, kind of along those lines.
Right.
Would be a Part 1, Part 2
But would
course.
be coincide.
And our math teachers are really wanting that to help with instruction. And that gives us that flexibility that would be tough with where we're at.
So as a student, I think it's good. I attended Bath County High School in grades 8 through 11. We're block scheduling. In my senior year, they transitioned to a 7-period day, and it was more chaotic But from experience, block scheduling gives you more project-based learning, and that's pivotal in your foreign languages and your math and science. We were able to do chemistry projects. I think it's more efficient and more effective block scheduling.
I think the nice thing about it too, just as you said, I mean, students will be responsible for keeping up with 2 core classes in that block time frame, where now they're, what, 5 core? Well, 4 to 5
yeah.
core classes. So it does help with them taking more concentrated time in the class. But I noticed that you keep referencing 90 minutes and she's referencing 95. Are we assured that it will be 95 minutes?
I'm 95 minutes.
Because I don't want to see any time taken out of the classroom, and that's my concern. And I'll be very honest, I've said this very openly. I think it needs to be seat time in the classroom. I don't think we need to have remediation for the whole school. For those students that need it, they absolutely can get it. But I don't want to see any student suffer because we've got to have remediation across the whole school. I'd like to see it in the classroom.
And I
So
think
that's
the
why.
plus becomes, it's part of our school day there. You build that in with those extra remedial courses with the part 1 and the part 2, where they're actually getting the instruction in the
But
class.
it has to be in the classroom.
And I mean
not
95, I do say 90 minutes
section.
each of them, but it is
But
95.
you know what I'm saying
Yes, ma'am.
in that sense, because I am not in favor of doing this with remediation.
I mean, the
don't
only
think
parts
that's
you may have
beneficial
with
for all
that is like an
students.
SOL review at some point, that you have a special schedule.
But that would be within the course curriculum
Right.
because it's part of that course as opposed to separating a section out. That 5 minutes is what I'm worried about. I keep hearing this difference. It's like that 5 minutes out of each classroom shouldn't be there. It should
Well,
be
and I
in
think
the
it's
classroom.
very common to say 90
Yeah,
minutes.
I mean,
Most people
that's
just
what
have
I
a 90 minutes, so we
I
just
just
kind of
wanted to make
reference
sure.
90 minutes,
Yeah.
90 minute block, 90 minute
Nothing negative,
block.
I just have to understand myself.
Right.
Because that's something I
know.
think is very important, that they are actually in the class.
But I'm saying the max 90 minutes,
Gotcha.
you think 90 minutes when you say it, but it is 95 and 100 in our schedule.
Okay.
And it will be an adjustment for, a lot of the teachers.
Sure.
50 minutes versus 95 minutes
It
to,
is.
get adjusted.
I really like this because we keep referencing that it may increase our enrollment at JRTC,
Yeah.
and it gives more choices to our advanced day students. There are a lot of
Definitely.
people that have an academic background that are very good hands-on, and we keep talking about trade in America, and where we're
Yes.
going with all our 2020 initiatives, so I think it's important that we can offer that to our students.
Our
very
student leadership group did mention one of them, it's a 12th grader, but I mean, her time's passed with this, but she was like, I wanted to go to nursing, but never could. And she said this would allow me to do that in one of our Teacher for Tomorrow group. And so I mean, that opens a door for a kid that wants to go that way, that we can open that door for them.
I think a very important part can be too, as we initiate it, I know we can invite all the parents to come out, we can have meetings and do all that, but as much as we can do to try to send home communication, even though a high percentage still won't get it, but everything we can do just with the pluses. This is why we're doing it, because, the older generations are going to freak out with this, and a lot of people are going to panic, and they're not going to be happy with what's suddenly changing no matter what you do. So if we can come in with positives out of, this is why we're doing it, we're going to give your kid more, and it doesn't have to be 12 pages or 10 paragraphs, we're going to offer them more, and this is how it's going to be, then as much as you can to them, because that's real important. And again, inviting them to come to meetings and assemblies, we all know that's not going to happen much. So throughout the system, that's just going to be that's going to be a struggle. Everybody will get repercussion when it comes down, but it'll happen some.
And I think that's the main driving force. It gives our kids more. It gives them more opportunities, more chances to be successful. And I think that's what our department chair group and our staff have kind of looked at, how can we help our kids and give us a chance to be more successful.
And I think if you, like you explained, Dr. Fuhrman, if you outline, going back to what Mr. Clemens said, if you outline the block schedule, sample, lesson plan, and to show how that time is going to be divided, it will help parents
Help people.
understand. I love that. So kudos.
That was very
Yeah,
good. And
it
I think
was.
that we've had, this year, we've had a lot of our students from the high school visit JRTC, and many of those students have come back saying, I'd really like to participate, but how do I fit it in all my credits? So this is something that might present that.
Well, I think even an easier way to explain the explanation, the application, the synthesis.
Yes.
Think about behavior, condition, criteria. Behavior, what will you do?
Definitely.
To graph, parallel lines. What will you do? Condition, how are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it as a group? Are you gonna do it, small group, large group, teacher facilitated, student facilitated, and then your criteria, how we assess?
But the 95 minutes to me is more of a transition for the teachers. The kids, and I go back to when I was in school, and get away from high school, but there was never a set time in elementary school that you had 45 minutes on math. Today you spend 20 minutes, tomorrow you spend an hour or 10. And kids sat there for the duration of the day, or for 2 hours till recess, or 3 hours, whatever it was, and they were there. So to sit in a classroom and not lose an attention span, that's not so much about the students there, it's going to be about the teachers changing to make that succeed. I think the students can adapt very well, because sitting in a classroom, and again with that math or that English and making it interesting or not, that is a big part of it, but there's going to be more activity to keep those students going. So the tough thing is going to be on the teacher transition, I think, more than the students. I think the students will adapt well.
One good thing that I think's come about from things we've talked about in our leadership meetings is, you look at our school now, it's a little different in the last few years. We have somebody in science that's been a strong teacher in block, somebody in English. We have somebody basically in each of our core areas that can kind of help lead that charge in the department, that is taught on it, that's comfortable with it, that can kind of be our inside with us, kind of teaching out to our staff. So I think that puts us in a better place, in a place that we have nobody that's ever taught on a block schedule. So that's one benefit as well, that it's not been.
And with our students coming out of Jeter Watson, they're already experiencing, you might want to share with them a little bit about that. Does everyone know that our Jeter Watson students are very much on similar block? Mr. Bennett, you want to share what they do?
Definitely in the 6th and 7th grade, their core classes are 90 minutes. And yes, teachers have to, basically you start off with a whole group, then you break off where it's students facilitating with other students, and they're doing small group instruction. You come back together as a whole group to wrap up or to assess or something, but it's working. And then there's always been that little bit of a divide for whatever reason between 7th grade and 8th grade, because you go from that block schedule in the 7th grade and you get to 8th grade, then now a student's got to keep up with 5 classes. They've got they may have homework in 5, or they used to only have it in 3 or 4. They're only getting 45 minutes of math every day, where they used to be getting 90 minutes of math every day. They used to be getting, so we 100% support what the high school is thinking about doing, and I think it's going to help our kids transition, even better. But I do agree with Mr. Clemens. It comes down to that teacher's got to be willing to change.
That's going to be
And I know he's going to be there to support them, and there'll be a few that will, they'll struggle a little bit, but that's what he's there for. And that's what Dr. Fuhrman's there for.
Tough with teachers and parents, everybody. The first couple of years is going to be tough. And it's a learning curve for everyone. It is.
I really think our students only have to keep up with 2, maybe at the most 3 classes at one time. It's going to be huge for our demographic.
The best thing that's going to happen after 3 of your classes are into the high school, then the transitions are going to be a lot smoother after those kids have been used. If the majority of them have already had it, then that's going to make life a lot easier. So that first 2 or 3 years, but after that, it will be.
And I think what you said was key too. You have some teachers that's already gone through this process that can also take the other teachers through
Be
it.
the leaders.
So, yes,
in the
the leaders, and you have gone and visited schools and things like that. So you definitely have done your groundwork. So that's
And
commendable.
as Mr. Cantrell
Yes.
said, Eastern Montgomery, their staff and principal,
Definitely.
they are very willing to help and to send anything, that we would need.
Definitely.
And how many students do they have?
They're right around 280 without the 8th grade. So, we try to look at somebody that's very
Close to
similar to us.
Yes.
So it wasn't like we're going to Botetourt or somewhere, which,
Well, the other thing that I think is very important is the decision is being made now. So that the communication get out there. It's not a surprise at the beginning of the school year. And we need to be communicating that to all parents and students, that this is the direction it's going to change. so that they are prepared.
Right.
And
That
we don't
scheduling,
get
no
surprises. Yeah.
And I'd just like to say, I really appreciate the positive attitude and input from what we saw last time when we discussed block scheduling. You know, there's been a transition out there as well that, you know, that helps. And it helps me make up my mind easy enough.
I know we looked, like I said, last year we looked and we were trying to, what fits us? And the
Right.
testing piece was one of the worries, and that's why the kind of the modified block, everybody was comfortable with that. But now with the profile of a graduate, you take that other step, and, you know, we've been working on it for a good while, and I think, you know, everybody's positive and willing and see that the change is needed.
Well, it's good that you've got committees together and you have
Yeah,
multiple
they've got
committees
multiple
review it, so that's very positive as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.